Now, one last thing before we get into the questions. Let's just say, for the sake of it, let's just say that that this investigation uncovers what I believe to be the truth and what most of you who know the facts to be the truth. And so let's just say that that this investigation into the investigation finds this. It finds that Brennan launched this collusion investigation with the aid of Comey at the instigation of the Clintons in order to, first of all, make Hillary feel better, give her some kind of excuse because her motivations are so trivial that, you could shed so much power. And she was such a petty person that you could actually do these kind of attempted coup attempts just to kind of assuage your ego. But so let's say it was that, and let's also say that the investigation into Trump and Russia was designed as which is what I think, was designed also as a preemptive strike, a spoiling attack. In other words, it's a raid on an Air Force base because you know that Air Force base is going to soon launch an assault on you. So you make all these accusations about Donald Trump. You repeat them again and again and again in the news for 2 years about Donald Trump and collusion. And when the time finally comes to get to Hillary Clinton and criminal collusion, you've already discredited Trump and all of the other people and so on. And this is what we talked about before. But what if it doesn't matter? I mean, there's one lesson I learned from the Obama administration, really just one lesson that I learned, and that is if you could take over the Attorney General's office, in fact, just really just the Attorney General, if you could find a crooked Attorney General, then everything else after that is moot. Because you can then weaponize the IRS, and if it gets discovered, no charges are brought. How many IRS servers had data erased at exactly the same time? All the backups as well, by some kind of computer glitch. Was it 6,000 or something like that? Sure, 6,000 independent accidents erased the same exact data on 6,000 machines, including the backups, which is why we have backups in the first place. I don't actually believe it. So, what if that actually happened? What if it went all the way, and you got indictments and convictions against Comey, Brennan, Strzok? I'm missing a few on the way intentionally. Indictments against Hillary Clinton, against Uma Abedin, against Susan Rice for treasonous undermining of the country. And they're Iranian agents. I have no doubt about it. None. This is our primary enemy in the world right now is Iran. And the President Obama's closest advisor and Hillary Clinton's closest advisor are both Iranians with a kind of a pro-jihadi look. Seriously? So what if the whole thing actually got to the point where you had indictments? What interests me then is how would the country take it? We know how they would spin it, but how would they take it? In other words, if you were to clean the whole thing out and just do it, I'm not even talking about re-election now. I'm just talking about, would it be, what would happen? Hillary Clinton is arrested. This is the dream. I'm not holding my breath for this, but let's just say Hillary Clinton is arrested. We know how this would be portrayed. It'd be portrayed as this now is the absolute evidence for anybody who couldn't see it before. It's obvious evidence of Donald Trump being a Nazi and all this stuff. And we know what the media would sound like, and we know what that 30% of the country would do, and how they would sound. But the question is, what would actually happen? I mean, could that? I shouldn't even be asking this question. It breaks my heart that I should have to, but this is what I've been dealing with for the last 10 years. Is it even possible that somebody that highly placed Listen to me. I sound like I'm talking about the Politburo, because I am. Is it possible to get a conviction? Forget about the perp walk and all the rest of it, but could you get a conviction? And what would that mean? Certainly, a third of the country would not believe it. They just wouldn't believe it. And so, what happens there? I don't know. I know you've got perjury charges against Hillary Clinton, and again and again and again. I keep coming back to those two statutes. I mean, you can read the law, and the law says if you do not turn in all of your records, that is a felony, punishable by 1 to 3 years in prison. And if there's evidence that you erased or tried to alter in any way those messages, that is a separate felony with a similar punishment, and further carries the stated ban in the legislation that says you can never work for the United States government in any way again. So I don't know. I think a lot of it is going to have to be, well, needless to see, this is why I've been saying about the going upstream and trading people off, right? So you trade off some low-level guy like Strzok. I'm speculating. I don't know the details of this, but let's just say you give Strzok immunity, and in exchange for Strzok you get Comey. And then you give Comey immunity in exchange to get Hillary. Now, the reason that I say all of this is because that's the only kind of a scenario that I can see the majority of the American people buying, having a chance to buy. In other words, if Barr comes in with a pack of evidence that's to the ceiling, it's not going to matter to half of the country. The only thing that the country will, I think, listen to is it would be if FBI Director James Comey, facing charges, then provides the evidence to indict and convict Hillary Clinton. That's the only thing I think. And it's kind of strange, isn't it, that on some level the country is so divided that the only way you could even have a chance of making this, just having the American people just swallow it, it's not based on the evidence. The question is, would you be able? You're actually depending on the defendants, these horrible traitors, because it's exactly what it is. It's not like a joke. This isn't a joke. This isn't like, oh, hey, well, we did this, and I mean, it's reprehensible, but you could say that the IRS denying conservative 501c3s is a joke. I don't think it's funny, but it's not the kind of news that stops the earth from rotating. But this is a coup, and the corruption in the Obama administration. I just thought, my God, is it even possible? So we'll take some questions and stuff. But is it possible? I don't care about them going to jail. I don't. In fact, I think you can make a pretty compelling case it'd be good for Trump to pardon them. But is it even possible that somebody could? Well, clearly Hillary's guilty. That somebody could finally have the keys to, indict Barack Obama for crimes, open up his sealed records and find out, his actual nationality, whether this is one of 5 social security numbers he has, and all of this stuff. Maybe he was born in Hawaii. I don't know enough about that. I suppose it's probably likely, but I also think it's likely that he went to, was it Malaysia? And was registered in an Islamic school as a Muslim, and if his father, his stepfather, Sotero, had officially changed his nationality, Indonesia. Thank you. It changed his nationality, and he didn't change it back. Then he's ineligible. Forget the natural born citizen stuff. He's just, I mean, I just, I don't know. It's just insight now, and I'm bracing myself to be disappointed. But look, even if all you get is Brennan and Comey, if that's all you get, the big fish who put the thing in motion would walk. But if you got Brennan and Comey, it would be tougher in the future to pull this kind of stunt again. And that is what I'm mostly interested in. Is I'm interested. Yeah, it's just like, and Mobile Moto here says, like, Pocahontas getting her Harvard job on the false assumption that she was an Indian. I mean, is it really just hopeless to assume that a wave of truth, could just kind of clean this whole thing out, restore the country to law? And for those people who say, or who think that I'm being partisan about this, I don't know. If it turns out that if it turns out that this investigation shows that Donald Trump committed felonies while in office, then Donald Trump needs to be removed from office and go to jail. But it turned out it didn't show that, and I just want law. I'm not saying that Republicans are immune from doing these kind of things. They're certainly not. One of the reasons Hillary Clinton is as corrupt as she is because the press allowed her to be. Once she realized that, as Scott Ott said, once she realized that she had the Ring of Power, which grants you invisibility, once she realized she had that, she could become more and more and more corrupt, more and more convinced of her inevitability. And honest to God, if was the number 700,000 people, 700,000 votes made the difference, judiciously placed among the several states in order to win the Electoral College, which is the only thing that counts. They really shouldn't even count the presidential popular vote because it's irrelevant. Why are you even counting it? It's actually kind of it's misleading to count the presidential popular vote. You can say, I think you have a perfectly good reason to say the popular vote in Florida went this way, 7,800,000 and 7 million for that. But counting the national popular vote, I think, is a mistake. I think it just fuels the fire of people not understanding how this whole thing works. Anyway. That birth certificate thing was just nuts. Anyway, so let's go ahead and see what we got on Facebook, and then we'll march over to the actual website for the actual members.